All right. Hey, everybody. So my name is Nicole Trick Steinbach, as Shelly shared, and I think this is my second time with the Colorado Career Connectors. It's so exciting. And I also live in Colorado. So my entire career was global. So talking with people who are here is really exciting. I live in Golden. And I've got 2 kiddos here and a diva dog. I mentioned the dog because we might hear him. He is this big, but he makes a very loud noise. So just in case that happens. So as Shelly said, I want to also wish you lots of holiday greetings, whichever holiday you're having. I know this is a time of renewal and a time of growth. And I don't know about all y'all, but not seeing snow after this last winter is very, very exciting. Very exciting. All right. So as mentioned, I'm a former tech executive. I lived in Germany for 13 years. I'm originally from Southern Ohio. So if I become very thoughtful, my stutter might come out, but my Appalachian might come out as well. My career took me to over 25 countries, which is amazing because I was also the first person to go through college and stay in college and graduate from college. What I'm going to show you was actually gifted to me by an executive who saw potential in me, but saw I had no idea how to connect with people. The first person who lived abroad, first person who was in tech, first person who was in corporate. I think a lot of you can relate to this. I was also an immigrant in someone else's country, right? And he took me to the side and he said, hey, you're building connections here. Let's tweak this a little bit so that you can have a network that helps you throughout your career. And that's exactly what has happened. Now, there's a lot of additional neuroscience inside of the framework that I'm going to show you and that I'm going to offer into you. This is not a do these steps and everything will be great, because you're going to make it your own. For example, I am a huge extrovert. I get my energy from without myself. I'm also a very people-driven person. This also works for my introverted clients. It also works for people who would rather deal with data than with people. It's all about setting yourself up for success in your own way. And I'm going to try to leave as much time as possible for questions. There's a link in the chat for the workbook. If you want to follow along with that, great, but you don't have to, okay? So this is all an opportunity for you. The host has disabled participant screen sharing. So I tried earlier and I was allowed to. Could you?
I will do that right now for you, Nicole.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. So,
yeah, you should be good. Oh, go ahead. You should be good.
I'm good. All right, awesome. Here we go. So I'm going to full screen this one. I really do see this as the simplest, fastest networking strategy. On my podcast, there's a lot of success. I'm just going to keep going with that. So this is what I would love to cover. Okay. Where are you starting from? What is an interest interview? Why do they work? That's going to be data heavy. We're going to flip through that. You're going to have access to this through the recording. The 3 hows, really specifically, I want you to walk away with this with like a way to at least start if this is new, or shift if it's something you've done before, and then questions and answers. All right. Come on, Zoom, I believe in you. All right, I just also want to offer, it's really important to me that I acknowledge I am on unceded land. I also am working on my own ableism and on acknowledging where we all are. So I live on the Ute and Cheyenne peoples. It is important to me to acknowledge that and pay the rent. And if you notice a way that I can be more inclusive, I really want to hear from you. You can hit me up on LinkedIn, Instagram, through Shelly, whatever works. But I'd love to hear, because this is an area that I'm working on quite a lot. All right. The first thing that I want to stress to everyone is that we are literally wired to be in what we now call neural networks. We thrive in times when we are connected. What that concretely means for the rest of our time together is that we want to help each other. When people say that's not true, I would just offer that less than 1% of the global population is actually a psychopath or a sociopath, right? And so people want to help you. It's all about you feeling good with that and giving them the opportunity, as well as creating an environment where you are helping as well. This is how we create networks for the short-term result and for the long-term growth. As Shelly mentioned, she and I have known each other for 3 years. We've been helping each other grow as humans and business owners and coaches throughout that entire time. But it wasn't like super intensive and it had to stay always consistent, right? It's like this give and take. So she's helping me, I'm helping her, we're all helping each other. That is just so important, because I don't think that we're taught that, even though the neuroscience makes it very, very, very clear. So if you have the workbook, but you don't have to because it's right here, okay? There are some elements that will help you in this moment, but will also help you in the future, which is, what do you currently believe about networking? You know, Shelly asked, like, who feels anxious about it? I do. I teach people to do this. So does Shelly, right? And we're both like, yeah, I feel a little anxious, right? What are your current beliefs about it? One of my current beliefs is it's a bit intimidating sometimes. Most people don't know how to do it outside of a transactional model. And every time I connect with people, I feel better, right? So what is it that you currently believe? You need to know where you're starting so you can GPS yourself to where you want to go. You know, what do you believe? What do you want to believe, right? So the third thought or belief that I shared with you, every time I connect with someone, I feel better, is a belief I've had to really work on. But when you know what you want to believe, you can begin to chip away and start to believe that. And why are you open to learning about interest interviews? Particularly when you get out and you start either in this new way or you start doing it for the first time ever, there's not always going to be great comfort. And so it's really important to come back to, why am I open? Why am I open? You know, a lot of my clients say, I'm so tired of being underpaid. I can relate to. I was 30,000 euro underpaid at one point. What? Right? Or I want to feel connected. I want to be connected into Colorado. I want to learn more about the biotech space. Or, you know, something I'm hearing a lot right now is, teaching has been amazing, but I'm ready for something that's lower stress, right? And I think, Shelly, you're also hearing this a lot, right? Yeah, especially after the Tennessee massacre. Okay, I believe that there is something I can learn from every person I meet. Brenda, that is such a powerful belief, right? And they can learn something from you. What an amazing way to move through the world, right? I love doing this with, especially Gen Alpha. If y'all don't hang out with Gen Alphas, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn, you're gonna experience. It's amazing. I believe that people's personal selves are what connect us no matter our job. Peace, that is a beautiful way to say it. Shelly, are we allowed to swear on this channel? Is that yay or nay?
I think that's pretty damn cool what she wrote.
Okay, cool. So peace, I think that that's a beautiful way to say what I was taught in Appalachia, which is everybody sits to shit. So we're all the same, like connect with each other. I love that piece. That's so beautiful. Okay, so this is where you want to start from. Again, you have the worksheet. You're going to have this recording. If you guys want to, you can have these slides. Okay, so once we have that, we are not doing this transactionally right up here at the top. We're connecting to learn and to experience with another human. And peace, what you said, and also Brenda, what you said every person, people's personal selves. When you can release yourself from connecting with the senior vice president of finance and the recruiter of the world conference, right? And you can connect with a person, you're going to experience this in a very beautiful and powerful way for everyone. People will love talking to you. Most of my clients report that the feelings of curiosity and connection are the most helpful, which goes back into we all want to be connected. Colorado Career Connectors. All righty, next. What is an interest interview? Okay, so there's a couple of aspects of the interest interview that I just want to stress very quickly. Number one, it's one-to-one, not one-to-many. It's informal. It's based upon curiosity, openness, and learning. We don't know who in this conversation was requested to do the interview and who is giving the information. There's two people having an informal conversation. Like I said, I'm learning, I'm 42 years old. I'm learning a lot from Generation Alpha right now, but I'm also learning from a mentor who is in her 80s. It's not about hierarchy. It's not about seniority. It's not about, these supremacist ideas of identity. It's about learning from someone else's personal selves, because we can learn from everyone. The second element, I cannot stress this enough. People want to help people. People really want to help people. We are literally wired. There's an entire branch of neuroscience that researches this. And people want to talk about themselves and what they know. I can talk about myself for way too long. I have to stop myself. I can talk about travel and building a global career and asking for more money and negotiating and spending time with your kids and being brave, right? People want to talk about what they know and who they are. Literally, we're wired that way. When you begin to bring these beliefs in, having this type of conversation becomes relatively straightforward. Okay, that's great, Nicole. Thank you so much. But does it really work? Yeah, it really does. I promise. I'm not going to go through all this data. Deep breaths. I'm not doing it. However, you will have access to it. Things I want to pull forward and why I think that Shelly mentioned, like, she uses it, people on her team use it. When I was an executive, I used it. I taught my people how to do it. This is why my clients use it as well. You have 3 times more access, and all of the research sources are down here. I think all of them except for Forbes and Harvard Business Review are free. They're not behind a paywall is what I want to say. So when you're networking, you have 3 times more access to unlisted or unadvertised opportunities. For people who are on the market right now, this is the short-term job search, you can go from 75% instant rejection to 15% instant rejection when you're doing this over your network, when you're doing this over personal connection. Those are really good odds. Like, I would put money down on that. The other thing is that right now, well, I don't know about right now, but in 2022 is estimated based on the systems of application that recruiters are spending about 6 seconds looking at your resume.
Nicole, I can absolutely tell you that is so true. And what draws my attention here is 85% of job positions are filled through networking. Last week,
Yeah.
One of my clients, I recommended an HR director that I had worked with in Arizona, and she wanted a simpler life, 32 hours a week, really good pay, up and coming business. She got an offer last week just because I knew what she wanted to find.
That's right.
So we never even posted this HR director role.
That's right.
Just because I knew recruiters have knowledge of this internal. So I just really wanted to let people know that is so true, that this networking, it's really about finding, and I'm not sure if we're going to talk about this, Nicole, but bear with me. It's like your comfort zone. Who are you comfortable networking with? And then your risk or your stretch zone, and then your risk zone.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that and then tell us a little bit of a story around that.
I love that. I'm going to take a quick note because I talked about spider networking, but I want to use your language to keep building on it so that it supports this group over time. Stretch, risk. Okay. Yeah. It's amazing, right? Because when we look at the hires, 40% of hires are referrals, and yet they're only 7% of applicants. Again, I love those odds. I'm supporting those odds. Right. And just like Shelly just shared with hers, most of my clients actually accept, when they accept a role, it's usually a role that's been created and or wasn't available when they first started talking to people. So you have two people with this experience. Okay, for personal growth, and this is what I would love to focus a little bit more on, because a lot of times we talk about the external result, and that's important because we all have bills to pay. We all want to be doing something of value. And I talk about the skill of bravery. Skill of bravery has two parts. Number one, it's not a personality trait. I am not a naturally brave person. That's why I can teach people how to be brave, because I tout myself. And secondly, you are already brave. It's about creating environments that are your comfort, your stretch, and your risk zones, right? Based on your personal growth. Here is some research about how networking supports your personal growth. 89% of the people report that it increases their self-confidence in less than a month, right? 45%, how many of us have accepted a role with a micromanager? Hello. I worked with someone who said, we're having conflicts. I don't like to work with young, ambitious women. And I was like, why'd you hire me? That's so weird. I was 27 at the time, right? Or a company whose strategy was in the middle of change. Lots of people start working at companies right before they start layoffs, right? This is a way that you can get that background information, have a feel. Is my identity going to be welcomed here? I've had a number of clients who in the interview, through the interviewing process, have realized, oh, they want a token Black woman. Oh, they want a token gay guy. Oh, they want, right? You can protect yourself, etc. Okay, so you're gonna have access to all of this. If you want to screenshot it, I totally agree with that. And I hope that the case is made. All right, so how do you set them up? This is where we're going to get really, really, really granular. I don't love sharing strategy and not showing people how. If you want to, you can look at the workshop, or you can just write it down for yourself now or for later. The very first aspect is that you decouple the people with what you want to learn. While you're brainstorming, you have two interconnected but not reliant columns. Who do I want to talk to? You know, Shelly, you mentioned comfort. There are people that I love talking to. I have some sort of connection with them. You know, you mentioned our mutual coach, Cami. I love talking to Cami. So sometimes if I just want to build my self-confidence and I want to explore something a little bit, I'm going to reach out to Cami, even if Cami doesn't know anything about, I don't know, Facebook ads. I don't actually want to learn about Facebook ads, but I was trying to think of something wild, right? And what do I want to learn? I want to learn about contracting. I want to learn about being a consultant in an area that I love. I want to learn about the new laws when it comes to climate change. How does that impact the industry? But you make a list of everybody and you give yourself grace. You come back to this over time. What do I want to talk? Who do I want to? And what do I want to learn? And you allow that to be enough. Please, these do not map into each other. So if you write something like climate change legislation, but you don't know anybody right now, that's fine. You will close that gap over time. Give yourself grace and permission. Okay. At the bottom of this worksheet, I have some suggestions here. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. I'm going to offer LinkedIn as an offer, but you, of course, have text. You have the Colorado Career Connectors. You could ask here, like, who knows about climate policy, right? You could go onto Facebook. I mean, there's so many possibilities. I'm just going to share with LinkedIn because this is Career Connectors. One thing that I really cannot stress enough, do not template. I don't care what any of these people selling a $250 course or anything else tell you. Do not template. I get cold messages all the time. They all get archived. Please do not template. You want to reach out with the humanness. Remember what Brenda and Peace shared with us, the human. All right, so here's how you do it. I really suggest, and Shelly, I am changing how I talk about it right now. I've been saying practice people, but I'm going to say comfort people. the people of comfort, because you want to build this skill, you want to tell your story, and you want to experience the flow. This is how you get started. So as an example, maybe Yvette would be one of mine, maybe Shelly would be one of mine. Dee, I'm going to call you out as well, just because I can see your image right now. And then Brenda and Peace as well. They're going to be my comfort people, right? And I'm going to reach out directly. I'm not going to tag them. I'm not going to comment them. I get tagged and stuff like, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, that feels very uncomfortable, right? We're not going to call people out. We're going to reach out to them directly. Create a hook for your connection, right? Like, Yvette, I missed the event live last November. I haven't seen you since the November before that. What is that, 2021? I loved talking with you in person, just as a reminder, because maybe Yvette forgot me. I doubt it, but maybe she did, right? And I can say, just as a reminder, I'm an international bravery coach. I remember you were talking about living in California. Is that right? I'm thinking about moving to California. I'm not. Would you be open to having a 30-minute conversation? I would love to learn from you. I'm not looking for a realtor. I'm not looking for a list of best schools. I just want to learn from your experience of living in California. Right? Now, if you're on LinkedIn and you see, for example, in my past life, I was a global senior director of change and communications. I was in all of these countries. I was posting about it on LinkedIn. I had people reach out as an example. Hey, I saw that you were just in Croatia. I've always wanted to go in Croatia. I see you're also a woman in tech. I'm a woman in tech. I'd love to learn about how you actually built a global career in technology as an American. Would you be open for a 30-minute conversation? I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking to learn. How much more likely am I to say, hey, secretary, assistant, this is somebody I'd actually like to talk to. Can you see if you can set this up? Right? Versus, I'm looking for a job in Germany. Can you help me find the job? Please don't do that. This is how you do it. This is literally how it happened. Some people are going to be like, there were times I had 2 small kids, right? I was moving, all these things, and I would just say no, but hey, my colleague Joni might be a really good person to talk to, and just create an introduction. All right. Do you have any questions about that? Brenda is willing to be a comfort person. That's exciting. Yes, how could anyone forget me? I mean, really. All right. So how do you run them? All right. First of all, as I mentioned, we want to keep this in the humanness, right? The humanity. We're connecting with each other. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Often when we're nervous, I put this into bullet forms because this is literally what my clients take with them. They'll like add their initial question. They might draft out their personal story, but this is literally what they take with them. Okay. We get nervous when our emotions are high, our intelligence is low. So we just want to balance that out. Okay. Thanks so much for this time. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy, or this is so generous, whatever you want to say. This is why I reached out. You can tell them exactly what you said in LinkedIn. It's totally fine. People need to, right now, research says people need to see something about 22 times to really bring it in. So repeat yourself, it's totally fine. I offer to my clients what makes you special, because sometimes it just allows the informal conversation to go a little bit more. So right now, I love sharing, like, I lived in Germany for 13 years. I have a stutter, and so it makes me really creative in how I choose my words. Then you go instantly into the initial question. An example could be, so it makes me really creative in how I choose my words. You do communication. How do you find creativity in the communication role? And let them start to share with you. Have a natural curiosity-based exchange. Many of my clients are high anxiety people. A lot of perfectionists come to me. I don't know why. I don't know why. I know why. Anyways, so they come and they want a whole list. So that's great. If you like to be super prepared, empty space makes you feel a little uncomfortable, great. Prepare a whole group of questions. Just please do not go down question by question by question. I have been on the receiving end of that, and it's a challenge for me. Now, if you tell me, like one woman said, she's like, hey, I'm late diagnosed autistic, so I'm learning about this area. I'm going to go through all of these questions. I was like, sweet, let's go. Right? You have your natural, for you, whatever that means, curiosity-based exchange, human to human, eye to eye, right? As the Germans say, eye to eye, meaning that we're not in a hierarchical situation. We're just learning from each other. In the last 5 minutes, woo, powerful, powerful. The second to last question is, thank you so much for your time. This was really valuable for me. How can I help you? 80 to 85% of the people in my estimation are like, oh, I don't know, nothing. Some people will be like, well, actually, I'd love to talk again. Or, you know, I've had people say, would you be willing to talk to my colleague, my kiddo, my whatever, about your global career, about your stutter, about how you broke the poverty cycle to become wealthy and all these things, right? The funniest one was, oh, you make cakes? Would you make me a cake? I thought that was so sweet. That was in Wisconsin. Maybe that's a thing there. And then the last question is, they mentioned something that interests you. I'm really interested in learning more about whatever it is that they said. Climate policy. Is there one person you'd be willing to connect me to so I can have the same type of conversation with them? About 2/3 of the people are not used to doing this type of networking, especially if you are talking to folks who haven't been centered by systems of power. So women, what we call people of color, people of the lowest classes, etc. They're not used to this kind of request. So they'll be like, oh, I don't know. That's fine. That's totally fine. You're going to follow up with a thank you note and say, oh, and if anyone has come to mind, I'd love to be introduced. More than 50% of the time, you'll be introduced, or they'll want to have another conversation with you. And then your network begins to grow. So now you're going from your comfort to your stretch to your risk. I call that spider networking, where you're building a spider out. Yeah? Okay, cool. I love that. So this is how, again, screenshots are always welcome. So how do you keep it going? I want to make sure that I have the right, yeah, okay. How do you keep it going? Okay, so really, really important is that you set yourself a target and you look towards the future and you keep your end in mind and you come back over and over and over again to your curiosity, to your learning. I really suggest keeping a list of the people you've talked to, give them little updates, right? Let them update you, and offer others to be their interest interview. And you're going to keep the spiral going. You're going to keep the momentum going, right? And in my experience, every single one of my clients at some point is like, I'm doing too many. I'm like, okay, create a boundary. Right. And that's how you keep it going until you have your success. What I really want to stress here, I'm going to go back up. Come on, Zoom. There we go. It's human. It's about curiosity and connection. It is not transactional. So keep them going over time. Shelly and I support each other back and forth, but we don't only talk to each other when we're supporting each other. We just keep it going. It's a really nice connection. And when we have that with lots of people, we find the jobs, we find the growth, we find the interest, we find the mentors, the sponsors, etc. So that is all that I wanted to share, but I'm guessing I'm hoping there are questions or concerns, suggestions. If you have a suggestion, bring it. Let's see.
What I love about what you shared is the second part about people asking for how can I continue this? Who do you know that you think it would be a good conversation to have?
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially in those areas for women, people of color, or underrepresented, or people who are not used to that,
Yeah.
it's really important. And that natural curiosity that you're talking about comes from mindset, back to the neuroscience that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And you and I have both gone through positive intelligence, and there's maybe 4 or 5 people on the call who have as well. That's the gift of inspiration, the gift of knowledge, and the gift of knowing your wisdom,
Yes.
right? About being curious to explore. And this framework does work for both our clients. And that's why we both can tout that most of our clients get jobs through the hidden job market, through us helping them network. And so I just wanted to comment on both of those pieces. And I'd love to hear from the audience. What questions do our participants have?
So there's one question that's been coming up a lot on LinkedIn. If I can jump in while you guys are thinking about potential questions or pushback. You are super welcome to pushback. It's like, how do I address a layoff? Right. So I've been laid off. How do I address that? In my interviews, interviews, whatever. The first thing that I want to offer to everyone is that it's estimated now that 13 million people have been impacted directly or indirectly by layoffs. So you're in a good boat. It's like a really popular, it's like the biggest, fanciest yacht in the whole wide world. And we're all in it. Okay. That's the first thing that I want to suggest. And as we continue to see the shift in financial markets worldwide, that number is only going to increase in the next 3 quarters, just because of like restructuring and shifting. So if you want to, you can decide that a layoff and a restructuring kind of the same, because your job got changed without you being a part of it. I highly recommend not trying to play around with it. It feels gross. We all know what it feels like when someone's trying to like play around with it. So just be like, yeah, I got laid off. A lot of amazing people are being laid off right now. 2 of the best managers I ever had were cut. Has nothing to do with performance or length of service, or quite frankly, anything but numbers on an Excel. It's okay. It sucks. I don't love it. In fact, I have a lot of opinions about it. If you'd like to hear someone rant for 30 minutes on my podcast. But anyways, be forthright and honest. Like, hey, I was laid off. This is why I'm searching. And I really want to encourage you that while you're not using interest interviews to ask people to get you a job, you can say in your story, I was laid off. I'm looking to start my next job in April. Or sorry, now it is April. So what is it, June? I'm looking to start as soon as possible. I'm looking to start in June. Hey, I'm gifting myself the summer off. I'm going to start in September. But what I really want to learn from you is all about the financial sector, the construction sector in Colorado. That was a weird choice for someone with a stutter. Okay. And then, I really want to encourage practicing in a mirror until you feel okay, because it wasn't really truly. I have seen very few people get laid off because of performance. It's mostly numbers on an Excel. I have sat behind the C-level in a couple of different major tech corporations. I've watched them make the decisions. It's rarely like, that Nicole has got to go. It's like, all right, change in comms. There's 10 people. We want to have 9 people. Somebody just choose. Okay, so if you can depersonalize that, that'll be really helpful. All right, I have a question regarding whether interest interviews are based within your business industry or any connection. How to draw the line between personal and professional content. You've never heard the interest. Okay, very cool. Shelly, I would love to hear your perspective about this as well. I'm going to go to one extreme. Do you mind if I go first and then just like...
I'm ready to go after you're done.
All right, awesome. One gift that I would offer to you is that yes, you want to have boundaries between your personal and your professional. And yeah, you need to turn off your phone, you need to turn off your laptop, but show up as yourself. So I have interest interviews about parenting because I have now 2 neurodiverse kids, and one of them is middle school, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I'll have this conversation every once in a while. But also, you can go way beyond your industry. So to take Shelley's term about the comfort conversation, if you have like your former college roommate, as just as an example, and you want to practice telling your story, you can do that with her. You're going to learn some really cool stuff, and you will be shocked by who is connected to whom. My former college roommate ended up being connected to somebody who lived in Colorado and ran a big tech services company. So when I moved to Colorado with my tech job, suddenly I had like an amazing connection with someone who was running a tech services company. What? KPI finished. So I just want to offer, like, you can explore everything and allow yourself to be personal at work. I don't know. What do you think, Shelley?
Yeah, I definitely think allow yourself to be personal at work. And Nicole, I didn't know you have 2 neurodiverse kids. I have.
I didn't either until last week.
I have 1 so far, and I have another daughter who's 11, who's going into middle school next year, who's got extreme anxiety.
Yeah.
So you and I will be having a conversation around that. Okay, to get back to the question, I have an example. I'm a Zumba instructor on the side, and one of my students came out to ask me questions about that, and we got talking, and she learns what I do, and she was like, you know, people in the Department of Defense, like with Lockheed Martin. I said, yes.
Yeah.
And we had an informational interview, interest interview, and what turned from an exercise class, she now is spider networking with a contact that I gave her at Lockheed Martin, and it's building from there. Another example is a friend of mine who's also a Zumba instructor, was the regional director for sales for a very large veterinary company. Amazing, badass rock star. In the layoffs, she got laid off, and now she's coming to me for what do I do in these situations, right? So you can leverage personal, and truly people do want to help. And you can start with Brenda, since she stated that she will be people's comfort, but start with those that you can practice with. You can practice with Nicole, with me, with our network. There's a job club that several women in here are involved with. They meet every other Saturday in person. There are accountability partners that I set people up with, but I hope that answers your question. Definitely. I wanted to talk about the productivity piece of this as well. And how do you get started with this? It does take that courage. It takes that bravery. It takes knowing what makes you special, your 3rd bullet point there. It takes that one step. And then once you get started, I ask my clients to reach out to people of interest, like they would have on that side of who do you want to talk to?
Yeah.
Reach out to them. Have a template of what you're going to say. And you just gave it to them, Nicole. So thank you. You have to be consistent with your productivity in order to start that momentum. But just as Nicole and I believe, in order for you to start the swirl up, you have to start somewhere. So I would challenge you to reach out to 3 people a day and do 3 asks, like our coach Cami taught us. We do 3 asks a day, and that will turn into interest interviews daily. One of my clients is doing 13 interest interviews a week. It's almost like put boundaries around it.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
And for anybody that just was like 3 requests a day, are you insane? Okay, that was my response. So I agreed to do it for a certain amount of time. I think it was 6 weeks. So I'm a delight to coach because I always argue with my coaches, like always. It's super fun, like such a joy.
Argue.
Anyway, I only did it for 6 weeks. And then I was like, okay, now I understand what makes me uncomfortable about asking for things. And so I'm going to work on that. I suggest, because most of my clients are actually fully employed. They're not looking for a full role right now. So I really suggest 2 a week. So I suggest 8, but if they say to me, girl, I'm a caregiver and I do I'm like, what is your timeline for your extended career growth? Right. And then we make that decision. So everybody, this is not about hitting some KPI, right? This is about your growth and your timeline. Okay, we have an amazing question from the iPhone. So nearly all of the jobs I'm applying for are public sector, which networking is strictly not a part of the hiring process. In fact, it is made to be impossible in most of the federal agencies I apply for. Our interest interview is still something I should dedicate a large number of my job hunt hours to, with this being the case. So the first thing is, what is your timeline? When do you want to start? And then you're going to start making some really important decisions from that perspective. The second thing that I want to offer to you is, this sounds very transactional to me. You want a job and you're only targeting certain people. I would offer to you, I lived in Germany for a very long time. When I first moved there were 100,000 military personnel and families. They all connected with each other, the civilians did, to find out who's going to go to Kauai, who's going to go to Oklahoma, what's an available position at the War College, etc. So that is one area where yes, you want to get into public sector. Yes, you want to be applying for these jobs. And yes, you want to be interviewing with people who are there, not to get a job, but with curiosity and connection to build out your network so you discover things earlier and often. Are there a lot of rules in the public sector? Yes. I'm coaching someone who is a commander at the DoD. Yes, there are lots of rules, but we're all freaking human, okay? We all have a tribal network. We all have neural networks. And also when they follow all the rules, they also prioritize people based on reputation, knowledge, insight, all the things. So please do interest interview according to your timeline and things like that. Step into your brave. And also try to release yourself a little bit from the transaction. I talk to one person, I get this. I talk to 3 people, I get this. Because it could be one person or it could be 12 for this moment in time. But I'm still like, my business is probably 70% referrals. Many of those people, I was either their manager or their employee over a decade ago. Really want to open that up from a perspective.
Nicole, you bring up a really good point of people that you worked with 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I just got, I had a discovery call last week with someone that I worked at Lockheed Martin with 5 years ago, who remembered me and reached out because I was kind to her, right? So no matter how you left, people, a role, if you were laid off, I've been fired from a job, yet I still am in touch with the person who transitioned me. It wasn't the right fit.
Yeah.
I thanked him for doing that because now I'm able to live my best life.
Yes.
So, oh, we're getting lots of questions here. I need to jump into another meeting, no problem. If you have interest in working with the state of Colorado, Lisa Lemunion is awesome for that. Thank you. Brenda, who I have worked with for some time now, some of the informational network I do is to learn things that will help me be more prepared for interviews. Most interviews don't directly open up a door for a job, but they help me broaden your knowledge. That's great. Thank you. And Brenda has helped me in the nonprofit sector because I'm looking to really grow Colorado Career Connectors. So you never know where your network's going to come from.
Can I share a story about networking into the company that Wendy asked? Wendy, I wanted to work at PwC for like over a decade, girl. I was like, please let me work. Please let me work for you. And they kept going, not sure. But every time I was at a conference or I was traveling or we brought in consultants from PwC, every time I was like, I want to work for you guys. I think it would be so fascinating to work for you guys. And so I was always networking around a few of the companies that I thought were really interesting. Some companies, we don't mention the naughty ones, but some companies I thought I wanted to work on just had really good marketing budgets. I didn't actually want to work with them. Okay. And I only knew that because of the market, because of the interest interviews and the networking I did inside of there. Then I moved to Colorado. It's time for me to leave my employer for a lot of reasons. I love the people over there, but it just was time for me to go. And I reached out and I said, hey, and I got into the final like interview thingy for a managing director role. And I kept hearing the word aggressive. And I said, y'all keep using the word aggressive. What's it mean? And I was like, thank you so much. I've always wanted to work for PwC. This is not the right job for me. Okay. So yeah, talk to all those companies. And if there are people that you just want to know more about, like there's this company in Boulder called Maverick. Fascinating. I don't want to work with them, but I want to know everything they do. So yeah, please do continue to network into companies that are just of interest for you. And to that point, like totally free to connect, totally free to ask questions, right? If something pops into your mind, I'm sure Shelly would love to take this further. I'll take this further, whatever works for you, like LinkedIn messages, whatever. Okay. Sorry, Shelly, I interrupted you.
No, that's great, Nicole, no problem. I have a story of when I was actually working for, gosh, it was Eli Lilly. I was part of their HR leadership development program, and I was at a job fair, and I met the head of talent at Coors.
Oh, fun.
So I kept networking with him, and I got a job offer to be an HR manager at Coors Brewing.
Oh, cool.
That was like 15 years ago, and now I'm in Colorado, and I'm still in touch with this person. So you can network everywhere. The advice, and I'm actually glad you pushed back, because I was thinking, you know, she has had 13 in 1 week. The follow-up, I mean, that's like a full-time job. I like somewhere for my clients, who many are job seekers.
Yeah.
I also have many who are fully employed. If you're seeking position, your productivity, when are you the most productive? One of my clients is a past AWS leader, and he is most productive between 10 and 3. So he's getting his mojo on, he's very productive, he's doing interest interviews. So you have to figure out when your productivity is the best for you. All right, I see some other comments in the, okay. So we are now at 1:02. We are scheduled to go to 1:15. So I'm happy to stay on. Nicole, if you can.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
What other questions do you have?
There was something here about the job club where it meets.
Contact me separately, and I will get you in touch with or if Dina is still on, maybe she can jump in here too.
Wow.
Other questions, comments? Those of you who go ahead, Nicole.
Lisa's saying I can help you with state of Colorado jobs. It's kind of cool.
Exactly. I know some of you on the call have had several interviews, and Nicole, you have an interview webinar coming up, right?
Oh, I do. Yeah, sure. So I teach something called the interview to outcome framework. For those of you who've been following like executive education, it is very similar, but much simpler than what they teach at the Leadership Academy in Edinburgh. So that's that Leadership Academy where they send all the C-level people, and it's like $100,000 or something crazy. So it's that process simplified for all of us to be able to use it. That webinar is going to be April 21st. It is free. It'll be an hour. It usually goes a little bit over just because of questions. I'm going to teach you exactly how to prep for an interview. So you stop showing up as a puppy, and you start showing up as like, hey, I am so joyful to talk to you, and you are so joyful to talk to me. Let's go. My clients use this to really bring forward their strengths and get all the information that they need to know if they want to continue in the interview process. The reality is, well, according to the C-level executives at Davos, the reality is that a lot of these corporations believe they need to reset the power dynamic. And I actually agree with them. I do think we need to reset the power dynamic. I think we're just solving that in slightly different ways. So I teach people how to walk into these conversations in senior expert energy and get what they need so that they accept a really good offer and walk away from places that aren't right for them.
Awesome. I saw that. And I know a couple people on here have been interviewing quite a bit. They actually have chosen no for some of them. And so I thought maybe that framework, if you have the link, we can put that in the communication we send out afterward.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Any other questions on interest interviews, informational interviews for Nicole or me?
And you're welcome to ask other questions. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
nobody's going to ask what brave is. What? Oh, Marianne, bring it.
I was just gonna say, I really like the statement that you said that people want to help each other. And I think that we all get in our own heads too much, that we think, I don't want to bother somebody, or I don't want to seem like I can't do it on my own. But you just really have to let go of those feelings and put yourself out there. And I am a member of the job club. And there's a couple of other gals on here that are here as well, Kim and Tanya. And little things like that are just so helpful, just to get yourself out there and meet somebody that's not in maybe your network, or that isn't in a job that you're looking at, but you get used to talking to other people and offering your advice just as much as you're looking to get advice from them. And I think it just really helps. I think for me, networking, I was looking at it as an opportunity to get something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always something tangible. It's just something more a comfort, just talking to different people. And that's just been really helpful for me. So I hope that helps.
I love to think of myself, I'm not like an active gardener, just so that we're I love to think about myself when it comes to networking and growth as a gardener. Like, how can I nurture this? How can I plant seeds? And how can I be patient in allowing them to come up? And I love what you just said there about the power of sharing your story, because some of the seeds we throw out, people don't know what we're talking about. Right? That's awesome. Thanks.
Anything else from anyone? Nicole, thank you so much. I learn from you every time, and you and I are gonna have a conversation soon around our kids.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We have a lot of resources in Colorado, which is really nice.
We do. Everyone, thanks for joining us at Colorado Career Connectors. I hope to see you at some of the panels that I'm going to be speaking at. I know Nicole speaks at different points. Nicole, thank you for inviting our group to your interview.
The outcomes. Good.
Have a great week, everyone. And
Yeah.
make sure you are on LinkedIn Premium. I definitely believe in that as well. And that you're leveraging your in-mails. You should have 50. I use them up probably by the 7th of every month. So you be well. And this is the time of resurrection and revelation. So we hope that your wisdom grows, that your courage and your bravery grow, and that if we can help you, please let us know. We'll talk to you on the 24th. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, Tanya. Bye, Brenda.
You want to stop the recording?